This is Puzzle. It's a workflow mapping tool where you can map out every action in your entire business and then add in your entire team. I'm talking about complete org charts with departments and roles inside of those departments. You can even add in all of the software tools that you use so that you know who has access to what tool and exactly what job is being performed with which piece of software. But the real reason I wanted to test this one is not just the diagramming. Puzzle has an MCP connector, which means that AI tools like Claude, or in my case, I'm using Hermes agent. My agent is named Lloyd. He can actually look at the entire map, see my whole organization, who does what, find ways to optimize things, and even update it as we grow and progress as a company. Most small businesses don't have one clean source of truth about how stuff actually gets done. They might have some SOPs in one location, some spreadsheets in another, and then someone writes a Slack message that changes how everything gets done, and no one ever updates the documentation. And it seems like every business just has that one person who knows how things are actually done. And what happens if they're out sick or they leave the company? Then what do you do? What's so intriguing about Puzzle is it's trying to turn that mess into something structured enough for humans, but also something that AI can use, even if you're a one-person company building out AI automations. So for the rest of the video, I'm going to show you exactly what Puzzle does, where I think it's really useful, and some other areas where I think it still needs some work. But before that, you should know that this video is sponsored by AppSumo, and the timing is perfect because Puzzle has just launched on AppSumo as part of the Sumo Day event, which runs from right now. It actually started yesterday on June 7th, all the way until June 11th. It ends at noon on June 11th. So don't think you got all day. You got to make those decisions if you want to lock in the best deals. Now, if you are an AppSumo Plus member, you get an extra 24 hours, and the sale runs until June 12th, again at noon Central Time. So let me show you what Puzzle can do, and if you think it's a good fit for your business, or you want to check out what else is going on for Sumo Day, I've got a link down below in the description. I want to point out I do have a complete blog post with everything included in Sumo Day. I've got over a dozen full-length reviews in that post, so you can watch a ton of videos or link off to written versions of my content. Clicking on my links doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps support this channel. So go ahead and do that if you want more reviews like this one. Let's get right into it. Here is basically the overall structure of Puzzle. So this is my Puzzle account, and right now we're inside of my organization named Client Amp. That's the name of the company I work for. And then within that organization, I've got separate workspaces. Now, with whatever AppSumo plan you purchase for Puzzle, you will get unlimited workspaces. You can easily add additional ones clicking on this button here, give it a name, and then inside of that workspace is where you do the actual organization and planning inside of Puzzle. If you serve clients, this is really cool because you could make them a workspace, show them advertising campaigns or ideas for how you can set up their technology, and they'll have a really good idea of what you're talking about without having to just make a really long written email to explain how everything connects together. Okay, so what you need to know next is that everything inside of a workspace is going to be the same set of features. This is not an app like Notion where you just have unlimited potential and you can build anything you want. No, every single workspace is going to have the same 5 tabs up at the top. So we've got workflows, teams, people, tools, and changelog. Let me break down quickly what each one of these are, and then we'll do a deeper dive to see kind of how they all connect. So workflows is just the stuff you do in your business. These are the services you provide, the actions that you take. So in this case, we've got an intake form for qualifying a lead. Then we have a blueprint to set it up for AI. And then we go into production, and then we get feedback. And this is actually something totally different. So I'm going to delete that. That's actually a template. And they've got templates here if you don't want to build your own. Now, where I'm looking right now, it looks like, gosh, that's not very descriptive. It just says 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't need a tool for this. That's because I'm zoomed out all the way. And if I zoom in more, all right, now we're starting to get some detail here. And I can see the individual steps inside of each section of this workflow. You can see how the workflow progresses from step to step. We can see who is assigned to that step. So, okay, this task is so-and-so's responsibility every time it runs through the company. We can assign a person to take care of that. We can also see what tools are used in that process. And the last option down here is to show us what type of content this is. So this is a video, and I can see over here, I've got a video. Okay, we will come back to workflows in a bit, but for now, let's move over to the next tab, which is teams. Teams are your teams. It's the people in your business organized into what I would think of as like a division or a segment of your business. So like a design division, an HR division, that sort of thing. They call it that a team. One unit is a team inside of Puzzle. And of course, inside of teams, we have roles. So let me get a little closer here. And you can see here is the editorial studio. So the editorial studio has 3 roles: a host, a video editor, and a channel owner / final approval mechanism. So the work flows this way. The host makes the videos, the editor edits them, and then there's someone that does final approval at the end. And you can see it's actually the same person, right? So the host is me, DS. I can get in a little bit tighter here. And then we've got a video editor in the middle, and then I review it at the end. That might change in the future. Maybe someone else reviews it. Well, I could assign them to this specific role. Now there's a few elements on the screen here, and I just wanted to define them for you. This little faint outline, that's how we define what a team is. If I wanted to add a new team, I can click over here, and here is my new team. It's untitled to begin with, but I could give it a label. Let's say this is HR. And then inside of that team, I'm gonna want to add roles. So the next icon down here is to add a role. I can just drop it into that team, and let's say this is a team lead. Now from here, there's more you can do, of course. We can add in the hourly rate for how much an HR team lead makes. We can also add in specific people that are assigned to this role. Maya, now you are an HR team lead. There we go. Now, to me, this is really exciting because we could document everything we do in the company, whether it's a pure automation run by different LLM models, or it could be actual tasks that human beings still need to complete. And I don't have to set this up myself. I can have an LLM do it for me in 2 different ways, actually. They have built-in AI called Nova. We do get some credits for Nova with the LTD that you purchase, but it's not reoccurring, and it's honestly a very small amount. I was able to burn through my credits almost instantaneously. You can see I'm out of credits down here, and I'm not gonna buy any more because there is another way to connect up AI, but I can show you. I think I did 1, 2, 3, 4 prompts, and then I was out of credits. So that was a little bit disappointing. No worries though, because before even trying out Nova, really the first thing I did with this tool was to connect up my agent, Lloyd. You could use Claude, you could use Codex, anything that has an MCP server is going to be able to connect up to this. OpenClaw would work as well. I'm gonna demo that in a little bit, but hey, we're only halfway through these tools here. We've talked about workflows. That's all of the stuff you do. We've talked about teams. Those are the people that do this stuff. Now let's get a little bit more specific. Who are the actual human beings inside of the teams? Well, here's your org chart. We've got individual little cards here for each person in the company. Here's Priya. You can see that I have a spot for her email. We've got what type of employee they are, whether they're a contractor, a vendor, a board member, you can name it. And then we can add in their actual photo here. I didn't add photos to these fictional people, but you get the idea. I could add in a photo. Here, I added myself. There we go. That's what it looks like if you add in a photo. Shows up right inside of the org chart. And if I go over to Teams, anywhere I'm assigned, you can see my avatar there as well. Okay, so what's going on this page is all the options I showed you in Teams is really simplified here. We just add people. If I want to add a new employee, just add them right here, set their type to employee, add their first and last name, and then I can set up who they report to, right? I can draw little connecting lines. Let's say that this new person here reports directly to me. I'll grab a handle and just drag it over, and then you can see the new person reports to me. Whatever direction I drag, it will reflect who is basically taking orders from who, or who is above who. We can add in labels to these lines as well. You can see them over here to reflect what work is actually done. So publish video to measure, and then it's going to go over to me. But to update the title, you just click on the line and then give it a name right over here. You can give them colors too. So we can make it purple, say listen to Prince. Save, there we go. All right, the last tab up here, other than the changelog, is tools. This is all of the software that you use, have used, or are considering using within your business. So the tools can have groupings. This is my intake sources, and here is our blueprint and AI context. Then we've got our production and publishing tool set over here. You get the idea. I can add in a brand new one. We'll do a tool group first. I was screwing around with this before. By the way, easy to remove stuff. There's a little trash can. You just click delete. Deleting tools is the same. Just highlight it and hit delete. And here's my new tool group, right? I can resize this as big or as small as I want, and then I can add a tool to it. All of the tools you have already used will show up at the top, and then there's just a big long directory of other tools you might want to add. Like how about, let's go with Softer, friend of the channel here, past and future sponsor. Now I've got Softer added to my overall tools chart. I need to hide the search tools icon, then I can zoom way out here. Here's one gripe I have with Puzzle. I just added in a new tool and it didn't put me anywhere near where I was working, right? I've got to scroll all the way out and then I can drag it where I want to go. I can move over and then zoom all the way in. It shouldn't be that hard. It honestly should have a little button like N8N does. If you've ever used that, you can hit a button and it just kind of condenses everything and cleans it up. So if something's overlapping, I can press a button and it just makes everything pretty. We need a make it pretty button in Puzzle. It would go a long way. Anyway, back to adding in Softer to my untitled tool group. Let's just call these current sponsors. We'll add in AppSumo to this as well, seeing as they are the sponsor of today's video. So I've got my software listed over here, and I can click on one of the tools. It'll show up to the right, and I can decide whether we are actively using this tool in the business, whether we've canceled it, or we are considering purchasing it. I really like the idea of marking tools that have been canceled and then adding in a note down here to talk about why you canceled it. Inevitably, in a year or two's time, someone's going to suggest that same tool we just got rid of, and then you can figure out why it did or did not work for your company. So that's a nice little step. We can also add in the renewal date, the cost, how often it renews. Just a great way to keep track of your overall spending in terms of software. Probably not the only place I do that, but it's handy to have here. Okay, we're gonna go back and take a more thorough look at workflows now, but we have a deeper understanding of everything that's buried inside of this tool. We've got tools themselves, people, and teams. Now, when I look at a workflow, I'm gonna have some fresh eyes. Let me zoom back in and let's add in a new section here. I'll just click this button, or I could press S, and that'll add a new section and dumps me over here kind of in the Wild West. I'm gonna move it over here. We'll connect it up to the very last step, just as an example to show you how you can build stuff. Okay, and I'll call this last step over here retention, where we go out to our sponsors and make sure they wanna come back and book again with us. So inside of retention, I'm gonna need some steps, right? So I've got my steps right up here. Again, we started with a section. We're gonna add steps to that section, and I can just drop them in as many as I want. There is a key command for this as well. It is N. If I hit N, it's going to attach a step to my pointer, and then I can drop it where I want it to go. Now I've got 3 steps in my retention section here. I need to actually have them contain some information. All right, the first step I'm gonna call share results. So after a campaign ends, we share the results with the client. So we'll set the status to this as in draft, in progress, testing, live, or archived. This is going to be something that we are currently drafting up. How are we going to do this reliably? And what type of step is this? Well, it's going to be a document. We're gonna share a document with them. So I'll set that one up, and it's going to go out via email. So I'm gonna add in the tool here, and I'm just gonna look for Gmail. We're gonna use Gmail to send this off. All right, so it's starting to take shape right here. Now I can add in a role. Who is going to be responsible for this? Well, probably the performance analyst, a role we already established. So I'll choose that and hit save roles. And now if I zoom in, you can see, all right, it's starting to take shape. The performance analyst, by the way, I can find out who that is by clicking right over here, and it's going to open up the teams and take me right to Priya, the performance analyst. Jumping back to our workflow, I can choose if the executor is a person like Priya, is an automation like something running on N8N or Zapier, or maybe it's a bot. We're using an AI agent for this, and then it's clearly represented inside of the preview. Then of course I can draw lines to the next step here, and it syncs up from one to another. That's the direction the arrow will go. So if I were to draw the arrow from right to left, that's the way it would flow. So it's gonna work whatever your preference is. And I just wanted to point out, if I click to go back over to our performance analyst here, which of course is Priya right now, a few things that we should note. We could have more than one person having this role, right? That makes sense. Let's say we're talking about support agents. You could have 5, 10, 100 support agents. So I could add an additional analyst here from the dropdown. Maybe I'm an analyst now. There we go, save changes, and then my little logo will show up here momentarily. The other thing I was going to mention is that now I've got a step assigned to the performance analyst, and it's that share result step. I can click to go back over to it right here, and it takes us right inside of the workflow where we need to be. And by the way, yeah, eventually my avatar did show up here in the performance analyst card. All right, let me show you the change log, then we'll talk about the MCP and get you out of here with the plans and pricing over at AppSumo. Change log, very, very simple. You can add to the change log as you make updates to things. Now, honestly, I didn't actually do these updates. Instead, I had my agent write them for me, but just click on the log change here and you can type up what it is that you accomplished. It's of course great to have a history of everything that's changed in your company over time. It's very tedious to keep up with, so I definitely recommend using your MCP to do this. Let me show you how that works. So this is my agent Lloyd. He's a Hermes agent, but like I mentioned before, you could definitely do this with Claude or whatever other MCP compatible tool you're using. And right now this is just a regular chat interface. Nothing has been set up ahead of time. I can just tell Lloyd to go ahead and change something inside of the application. Hey Lloyd, I would like you to show the people who are watching this YouTube video your MCP capabilities with the Puzzle app. I was thinking maybe you could go into the tools section and list some of your favorite AI automation tools. Or you know what? They don't even have to be AI based. Just what are some of your favorite tools to use for automation? All right, there we go. Let's go ahead and send that message into Lloyd. He's gonna think for a moment and then plan his entire collection of tools. Okay, Lloyd says he's done. He created a group called Lloyd's Favorite Automation Tools, put a bunch of stuff in it, even gave me a URL that I can click on to go to it, but here it is. He made a group and filled it with tools. You can see everything that Lloyd prefers to use. Now, this is novel, but more than this, I talk to Lloyd about everything in our business. He's got access to storage on my computer, much like if you're using Claude Code or Codex, so he can read our PDFs, our SOPs. Very easy for him to just take everything that already exists in the company and poof, it's up on Puzzle. Now, why is that so important? Well, in the future, if someone leaves, I want to improve things, or we want to swap out LLMs, well, everything's already documented here. I can just plug either the human or the AI into this source of truth. This is how we do stuff, and there you go. There is a seamless, well, at least as seamless as possible transition happening. Hey Lloyd, give me an honest answer. Do you think Puzzle, given everything you know about it, is going to be useful for the work that you and I do together? Lloyd says, honestly, yes, but not as the core place where we do everything. And I think that makes sense. He says that Puzzle is genuinely useful for us because it gives invisible automation work a visual shape. A lot of what you and I do is Lloyd routes from one place to another, and Puzzle is good for showing that workflow, the roles, the tools, the data, and the handoffs. I completely agree. It gives me a visual element to a lot of this stuff that's done in either obscurity or markdown files that, quite frankly, I never read the entire thing. So this is the essence of what you can do with Puzzle. There's of course more to it, but let's move on to the plans and pricing over at AppSumo. You can see there's 3 different tiers. Some of the features are locked behind tier 3 and above, but the vast majority of them are available to everybody. So what do you get when you go higher? What is the main benefit for going for tier 3 or tier 4? Well, you can see the number of users increases 1, 3, 6, and 10, depending on which tier you buy. That could be a deciding factor for a lot of people. But the features that are blocked are a list view. I didn't even show you this, but on some parts of the tool, let's say you're looking at the tools and you go over here, there is a list view. So I can see like basically a table of everything that we use for software, what it's used for, so on and so forth. Workflows also has a list view, by the way. So if you want to see your workflows in a list format, you can see them there. Some other features you have to pay for: conditional coloring. That's going to be in the workflows as well. If conditions are met, you can change the color of things. Tool cost tracking, so the ability to set how much a tool costs per month or per year, is blocked to tier 3. I don't like that one so much. I think it should be available to everybody. Entities and attributes, that's something we didn't cover, but it's a way to get more specific about how you use software tools. Then we've got process costing. Now I mentioned the total tool cost tracking, where it's how much does this tool cost per month? Well, process costing is how much does it cost me to run an entire workflow? Good to know your overhead, essentially. Then there's integrations with Zapier, Make, and HubSpot. These are also locked to tier 3. Happily, the Claude MCP connector is not locked to tier 3. Everybody's gonna get that, and I think it's the most important part of the tool. So my main gripe with Puzzle is honestly just navigating through it. So as I move from section to section, let's say I'm looking at my people, and then I go to the workflow, it's gonna kind of zoom me way out, and now I wanna go back to the people, and I'm even further out. It doesn't remember what position I am in as I zoom around. Now, related to the organizational idea, when I had my MCP add in these workflows, well, it made them nice. It put them in nice little boxes like this, but they were all very close together. And it's really tedious to go through and organize everything so that you can actually read it. Not just because there's information in the card, but because there's also titles on these little lines that connect units to units, right? So if I zoom in here even closer, all right, I got to get this so I can see this here and that over there. All right, now all of that is visible. I'll make sure that this isn't overlapping with the line because it drives me crazy. You get my point. We really need a fast way to organize this thing. When I asked my bot through the MCP if he could clean this up for me, the bot actually told me there is no XY coordinates available, so it can't see where things are being placed. It just puts them down on the grid. So perhaps some type of upgrade to the MCP could be possible, where there is some coordinates added in so things are listed more clearly. Although I think it's still going to be difficult with these titles because there is no way to move the title that I can see. It kind of just stays there. So it's right in the middle all the time. So the only way, sometimes you might want it a little bit further over in order to clarify things. I do like inside of workflows, there are some templates here. There's not too many. They make it look like there is more than there really is because there's all of these empty categories here, like legal and finance and operations. Oh, there's one in operations, none under people. So there's a lot of categories listed, but not a lot of templates. So to me, that feels a little bit deceptive. The templates that they do have are pretty handy. So creating content process. Now, as I hover over this, I can't see what it says. Creating content process. There's got to be a better way to still show the title here when I want to use that template. But adding it in, they just drop it kind of anywhere inside of your section. So it'd be nice to be able to place that as well. And then I'm too zoomed in to even see it. So we'll zoom out and then try to grab the right handle to move it around. There we go. I got it. Now there is a lock button down here, so I can lock this up so that nothing can be moved, but there's no way to password protect it. There is sharing options, however. So if you go right over here to this icon, it's going to pop you open to what they call a shareable view. So this will let you take one section of your document, your workflow, and then display it to anybody you want. I'll build one here for you so you can see what it looks like. I'll click New View, and we'll give it a name like demo 2, and here's our slug, and then we'll add in the sections that we want. So let's say it's the retention section I worked on earlier in the video. I want to show that off to a potential client. I'll just choose that right here. I can add in password protection if I like. I'm going to leave that off for now. Then I'll hit create view. Here's demo 2. I've got either some code here if I want to embed it, or I can open it up in a new tab. And there we go. This is my retention section. So that is Puzzle. I think this is a pretty great tool. It does have some rough edges as I just went through, but it's a lot more good than it is bad. I'm excited to use this with my agent, Lloyd. Hopefully you check it out as well. I've got a link down below if you want to. My final score for this one is going to be 7.8 out of 10. If you got any questions about this tool or anything else at AppSumo, or really anything in general, hit me up in the comments. I try to get to everybody. My name is Dave. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. I've got more Sumo Day content coming, so get subscribed to the channel if you want to keep up with that. See you in the next one.